Hello, this is Dr. Glen Earl. We have an exciting presentation this morning or today with Dr. Jude Olsen about coaching. Just quickly about myself, and then I'm going to ask Dr. Olsen to share a little bit of information about herself. I work for Parkland Hospital, which is in Dallas, Texas. I'm in the Leadership and Organizational Development Department, and a lot of what my role is leadership developments, which part of that is executive coaching with the leaders, anywhere from a manager up to executive vice president. Dr. Olsen, why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Great, thanks, Glenn. I do coaching and leadership and transition for individuals, teams, and organizations. I recently transitioned from Lockheed Martin Aeronautics Company to my own private practice, and I'm also serving on the faculty of the University of Dallas's College of Business, teaching emotional intelligence for leaders.
Well, great. That's exciting. I appreciate that. Today our topic is generally about coaching, and it's going to be specifically about appreciative coaching. While I'm familiar with that, Dr. Olsen, I'm really looking forward, as the rest of the audience is, about really what is appreciative coaching. So basically, as you look back on your career, I want to just get some kind of general information from a seasoned veteran. Kind of what were some defining moments as you as a leader, and as time went on, what sort of impact that had on you? So first start with, what's a couple of defining moments for you as a leader?
Well, I actually was fortunate enough to have an opportunity at age 25 when I became executive director of a nonprofit agency. It was one that enabled women to recover from addiction and alcoholism, and I had no idea what I was doing. What I learned from that was that you can learn from your experience, you can have courage in the face of the unknown, and that leading a group of passionate volunteers and staff members gives you a competitive edge in any industry.
Well, thank you. Go ahead.
What it enabled me later in my career to do was to actually lead a consulting office for Drake B. Morin, and so I went from a nonprofit experience to a profit context where I was initiating a budget of $1 million a year, and later that helped me consult to a program leader at Lockheed Martin for a $200 billion F-35 aircraft program.
Well, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'd like to ask you another question. Is if you had a group of young leaders, people in the early part of their career, what are some feedback or direction or guidance or suggestions that would you provide them about how they could have a good or even better career as a leader?
My experience has shown me that once young leaders want to climb the ladder, so to speak, they need to pay attention more to the how of what they're doing rather than just the what. And by that I mean, how are they enlisting people into the project? How do they find resources? How do they tackle difficult problems? Do they collaborate or use command and control culture? How do you give recognition to others, etc.? And it is the visibility of their how that gets noticed and enables them to be promoted and go further in their career plans. So people are looking for how do they work with people, not just how do they get things done by running over people.
Well, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. What I'd like to do now, Dr. Olsen, is get a little more specific about appreciative coaching. So first of all, would you just kind of give us a little bit of background of what that is and specifically how that may differ to some of the other methods of executive and leadership coaching?
Well, appreciative coaching really has its foundation in positive psychology and the research regarding optimal performance. So it really looks at helping people set professional and personal goals, the development of strengths, and promoting resilience in times of crisis. It is not primarily focused on deficiencies or filling gaps.
Okay. What, you and I are pretty familiar with some other types of coaching. I'm just going to kind of ask a follow-up question before we move on to something else. So how about if we take an executive? We're both familiar with those, work with those every day. So how do we focus or help them to understand how they can get better by using appreciative coaching or an element of that like positive psychology? What would be a specific that you would work with an executive under that circumstance?
Well, one of the first steps in the process is called discovery, where we would have that leader look back and discover what were their strengths in other situations. And they might use an assessment called Best Self, where they would identify a time period or a project that they led, which would really have them tell the story of that experience and identify concrete skills and steps they took in that story to accomplish perhaps seemingly extraordinary results.
Great, that sounds very good. Let's get a little bit deeper. I'm going to ask you another question. So what are the stages of appreciative coaching? I know that there's 3 or 4 or 5, and if you maybe just kind of highlight those, share what the words are, the definition, and maybe an example or two. Just give us the stages of appreciative coaching.
Sure. Well, I've described discovery a little bit in that the person discovers who they are, what do they bring to the party, and what they've learned from their own experience in the past. Definition would be, what is it that they want to actually accomplish in this current state? And that would be based on their core skills, their values, and really identifying what resources they have in front of them to take next steps. The design phase then is about initial planning. Once they have their goal in mind, once they have reached back and brought forward their expertise and experience to leverage, then they can put together a plan. The development phase is the implementation stage, and that's where, as any of us who try to accomplish a project, need steps and timetable and resources to make those dreams happen. And finally, evaluation would be the end result. It would be a follow-up phase. How is the project going, and what else needs to be fine-tuned along the way?
Well, good. We have about a minute left, and I want to get a little bit deeper into one of those areas. Sometimes the stage is called the dream. Tell us how that works with an executive, a leader. What would that look like?
It would usually be a combination of self-reflection and then collaboration with a team or colleagues. And that would be looking at a goal in the future and looking at it in a way that does not presume barriers or lack of resources. It has you engage your right brain into something that is a passion, something that is future state, and the best that outcome could be. And it is an exercise where people need to describe the future state in detail as if it already existed in the present state. So some people say it's daydreaming. Some people say it's improbable. Okay. However, in our coaching methodology, we say if you don't have a clear picture of the future, then you'll never move forward with the excitement and the passion that usually is required of impossible dreams.
Well, thank you very much. We're almost out of time. I want to thank Dr. Jude Olsen to talk with us about appreciative coaching. This is Dr. Glen Earl from Parkland Hospital. We say thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Glenn.